The good news is if you feel bad, it's worth it.
It's worth it. That's good. All right. Hey, everybody. Star Trek, the original series, Wink of an Eye from season 3, episode 13 or episode 11, depending on what order you go from, is over and has been since 1968. But we're just getting started to here tonight on Live Long and Podcast. I'm Dave Mader, coming at you with Star Trek TV and movie reviews. And we're here for our next edition of Wednesday Ted Trek podcast, where we watch every original series episode, not in order. Let's bring in the namesake of this podcast, my dad, Ted. How are you doing tonight, Dad?
Well, it's tough today. I had the second dose yesterday, and I'm just trying to survive, baby.
Well, it's good news, but you're feeling maybe under the weather a little bit, it sounds like.
Just enough to make you kind of... Anyway, it's all good at the end. I guess it's working. So.
It's worth it. But if Ted Mader can't finish a golf game, there's got to be something not quite right.
Well,
yes.
That's right.
Yes. Let's bring in next our esteemed panelist, Jody Simpson. How are you doing tonight, Jody?
Hello.
How are you feeling?
Better than Ted, apparently.
Sounds like. And lastly, let's bring in to round out our panel tonight, Adam Woodward. How are you doing tonight, Adam?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh, I know that backdrop. I know where you are.
Yes, you do. The drop ceiling and the whatever you call these things.
The blinds.
You guys don't have drop ceilings and standard medical-looking blinds in your house?
Yes.
Ted, you don't look so good.
No. I got the second dose yesterday, and it zapped me right good.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
We'll see if I can go tomorrow.
Yeah, I that's all you hear is that you get your second vaccine, and it's a little bit more of a toll. It takes a toll.
I have to wait till August for mine, so.
Yeah, well, I'm supposed to be September, but we'll see what happens.
It'll be moved up. It'll be moved up in both cases.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yes, but maybe you might want a dose of Scalosian water to help accelerate the timeline here as we're talking about this episode, Wink of an Eye, an episode I have certainly never watched all the way through. So let's kind of go around and talk about this. Dad, let's start with you. Had you seen this before? And I guess second question is, what you think?
Yeah, I saw it before. It's kind of a weird episode. They get this distress call from the middle of space, and these people, the Scalosians, they must have drank that Scalosian water, but anyway, they're interesting characters. But it was okay episode. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst either. It was better than the few episodes we watched.
Okay. So not the best, not the worst. Let's go over to Jody.
In the middle.
Yeah. Wink of an Eye. What are your thoughts on this?
It's definitely a more original episode than a lot of Star Trek. It doesn't really follow the cookie cutter, he falls in love with somebody, blah blah blah. So I think it's got that going for it, but it's a mediocre episode. It's a mid-range episode. It's not terrible. I agree with Ted on this one. It's not terrible, but it's not great. Like it's just right in the middle there.
Somewhere in the middle. And Adam, would you agree with Ted and Jody?
Yeah, there was some kind of cool things around this episode, things we'd never been introduced to before. And were introduced later with Next Gen, the phasing and different things happening, in different times. But I just found it slow to start again, like get going, and once we got into it, pretty good. The acting was pretty good in this episode. The storyline was not bad. It's just again, that 10 minutes would have made a difference for me.
Yeah, I hear you. And there's a bit of a ruse at hand here, where like the Enterprise is lured to this planet of Scalos by this distress call, and it starts off with not the first time I think we've had this, but a Scotty's log. It's not even a captain's log to start the episode. It's Scotty's log. He's like, "Hey, we're here."
How did you introduce that? I meant to go back and look at that. Was it engineer's log or was it
like ship's log?
Ship's log. Okay.
He said ship's log, like engineer Scotty or Scott in temporary command while Kirk and Spock are on the planet.
Gotcha. Okay.
along with the landing party, and we only get like we first get this first glimpse of the Skelosians through like this message that Uhura shows us, I guess, on the view screen, because like, hey, yeah, they're right on the view screen right now, but he's like, we're standing at the coordinates, and they're not here. Also worth mentioning, I know this will probably come up in fun facts, but this is that call at the very beginning of the episode that Kirk makes up to the Enterprise. This is behind him is the remastered version of Scalos. However, the original Scalos looked a little bit like this.
I think the original looks better.
Yeah. It's more of a nighttime setting versus this more like daytime kind of washed out look.
Yeah,
but you can't forget the Academy Award they had there. It's great.
Yeah.
That's true.
Right, and we see like when they're kind of going around the fountain, there's kind of a similar looking sculpture kind of thing.
So they basically got rid of the bronzer on Kirk and then changed the complete background.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And so there's kind of some opening here things that happen. I can't find them. We kind of get I want to talk about the costumes of the Skelosians as well, but we'll get there. And then good old Compton. We see him drinking some water. He's washing his hands, I guess. Right? He drinks a little bit. And he vanishes right in front of McCoy. That's the kind of the start of the episode. That's wink of an eye, or I think I should say it later. And so he's gone. They come back to the Enterprise after the credits, and but we're getting like these little teases that there's like these buzzing flies around, and what does that mean? The zzz, zzz, like there's no insects registering on the tricorder. It does kind of beg some questions about just away team protocols and things. If you're beaming down to a planet you don't know anything about, don't touch the water, don't drink it, certainly. Would be advisable. You just got to this planet 5 minutes ago. But it's a
space explorers, they really are terrible at it.
Right. And they weren't even like, I don't know how long they looked for Compton, but it's clear they gave up after a certain amount of time. And they come back to the
California.
Ship. California. Yeah. And then, so I don't know, they're trying to kind of figure what's going on. They're starting to get like, you're right. It's kind of like a slow kind of reveal about what is the mystery here. Because we're kind of getting reports like, oh, well, the hangar deck's got malfunctions and this thing's not working. And so it seems like there's nothing really happening, but there is. So it's kind of a slow burn or slow build to sort of the Dila.
Well, and that's what's really frustrating about this episode is because they have a very unique concept for this episode. It's a really cool idea. It's just the execution is the problem in this scenario. But I agree. I think Adam was the one that brought it up with the slow burn. It really is a slow burn, and it's not even really a burn at the beginning. It's more of a snooze fest, and then it eventually turns into something fun.
Yeah, until Dila shows up. Yeah.
Yeah, until you actually see Dila, I don't think really the episode has got anything of merit.
But the first couple of minutes were pretty good. I mean, honestly, you're on the planet. You're right. There's a kind of a backdrop, and you're, oh, this is interesting, and nobody's there. So what's going on? But then it just they didn't go far enough. It just or they didn't go fast enough, in my opinion. Well,
I think the other problem that you have is based on the what the premise of this whole episode is, which I'm sure Dave's going to get into in a second. It's hard to really introduce that because how do you introduce that without being boring? Because they have to show the effect first and then show the reason why, right?
Yep. I guess there's a bit of a setup here. We also get this Nurse Chapel's like, everyone broke into the medical supplies and went through stuff, but it doesn't seem like anything's gone. So there's just there's a little bit of a mystery here. And then Kirk, the premise of the episode where he gets like put into this accelerated time by drinking the coffee, right? Oh, or did I skip over it? Because was this after they found? It was after they found the life support thing. Because there was this thing where Kirk went to sick bay. He gets on the bio bed and he's hearing the buzzing. And this is kind of where he kind of figures out we've been invaded. There's something here. Something's up. they try to go to the life support controls with those 2 security guards, and they run into some force fields and stuff like that. And Kirk and Spock are just like, we don't know what to do, but we know that there's some issues. I also enjoyed when they went to go talk to the computer. Spock's like, let's talk to the computer about this, and kind of figure.
God, yeah, with Majel's voice on it the whole time, and it's just it's so grating.
Insufficient. Everything was insufficient.
It's so grating.
They're like, he's like, recommendations, and you're like, they're like, negotiate for peace or something, and you're just
something like that, yeah.
Was this really worth the time to talk to the computer about?
No. This gets into the at least 10 minutes of filler in this episode, which is actually closer to probably about a half an hour of filler.
Yeah.
In this episode.
Right. And then Kirk's like, we're not negotiating. And then Scotty's like, damn right we're not. Yeah. We're not doing any of that shit. So
why bother going to the computer then? Like, what did you gain here? Other than we got to hear, Majel Barrett talk really terribly for
like Spock could be like, I don't think we should talk to the computer because data is insufficient. Spock could have come to that conclusion.
Yeah, that would have saved like 5 minutes right there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Kirk could have did the normal, throws balls on the table and
right.
But I'm not doing that.
What do you think of his approach here, where he's like, also, well, we'll just let them make the next move, because he kind of doesn't really have another choice. I guess there's nothing they can do. They have no way to talk to them yet. And so it seems he's like, okay, we're just going to play it cool. Hey, yeoman, is that coffee?
I love when the coffee
Which actually brings me to a point that I didn't notice until I watched this episode. There is not even a cup holder in the captain's chair. Like, he has to put it on the console on the right-hand side. There's buttons.
Could get on the buttons.
It. Like, come on. Like, there's got to be a cup holder. Like,
even Undiscovered Country didn't have that, right? I mean, when Sulu was captain of Excelsior, right? He's drinking.
His teacup broke. Fell right off. I think that cup holders would be advisable, especially on a spaceship where gravity could be lost.
Oh, so would seatbelts. Look what they did in the reboots, guys.
That's true. I think that those are smart enhancements. Yes, but here we see it. We're not. I do. I do
need your pro Kelvin timeline crap today, Adam.
We don't need it. Yeah. Anyway, so he's like, I just love Kirk when he goes, "Hey, yeoman, coffee. Where's that? Is that coffee you have?
Like coffee, 4 cups of it."
Yeah, there it is, right there. I just saw it on my screen.
Yeah.
The coffee's just sitting open willy nilly. Like, they hit a little bit of turbulence. That fucker is all in the console. Do you know how hard it is to get coffee out of a console? Mm-hmm. Like, there's people that still have coffee in their cars and the consoles because they can't clean it.
They had some space age styrofoam cups though to go.
They did, yes.
And so and so this is where he drinks the coffee and slowly, or is it? Everyone else is slowing around him, right? And he's like, then eventually they can't hear him anymore. It kind of holds up, I think, as an effect, like, in terms of what's happening right behind you there, Jody.
Now, I'm not a massive coffee drinker, but isn't it supposed to kind of speed you up, not slow you down?
Well, normally. Yeah. Well, it does speed Kirk up. It just because he's being sped up, everyone else seems slow.
True.
And this is where Deela comes into the story. I think Deela is kind of an interesting.
Her outfits are interesting, that's for sure.
Her outfits are interesting. Do I have a full? Yeah, there you kind of see her full dress. She's kind of got. I'm not even sure if she's wearing. Is she wearing underwear? I'm not.
Probably not.
Who's to say? No, but yes, but this is where she kind of reveals herself to Kirk, and she's like, "I think you're pretty, Kirk. I'm here to take over or to make you my mate," and he's kind of into it a little bit, but not. Of course, he's the captain. He can't be having that. Oh, look who's here!
Do we have a surprise visitor?
Yes, we do.
Oh, we do.
He's back.
Oh, you know why? Because the Leafs aren't in the playoffs anymore.
Wow. Exactly. Yes. Jeff, did you watch Wink of an Eye?
No, I'm watching it right now.
Okay. We'll bring you in at the end, and you can let us know what you thought.
Sounds good.
All right.
To watch.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, but so Deela's this kind of, she's an antagonist, but Kirk's kind of into her, and they kind of have a good chemistry, I think, in this episode.
I think that he's not usually like, she's aggressive. Like, she's good. You know, she takes him, kisses him right off the bat. He
does his fake resisting thing where he's like, "Oh no, don't!" But I'll still suck your face. You know.
Yeah, he's like, "No, but okay," and yeah, it's kind of interesting. But I think Kirk's also good. He's using her infatuation with him as much as he can, not as much as he did maybe in the episode Miri. We dropped the line, but she kind of explains it to him, right? That she's like, "Oh, soon you're going to learn to like this. You're gonna join us." And he's like, "No, I won't." He tries to shoot her with the phaser, but the phaser beam moves too slowly. Yeah, she just walks sort of out there. She's like, "Come on, please." He could have thrown the phaser at her. That probably would have worked better.
We need to talk about the shot here and how come every time he's in that zone, I guess, or that the shot is done, sideways.
Yeah, everything's in italics.
Everything's on an angle.
Well, actually, in this case,
while he's in the speed
you can even see it on my screen right now, right? Like it's
every time.
Yeah, every time he's in the altered state, the camera is slightly into one side, which I thought was kind of a cool effect. Really,
that was a cool effect because then
I didn't pick up on that. Yeah, that's interesting.
That was one of the first things I picked up on. Yeah.
Batman used to use that, the old show, when every time there was a bad guy on the shot.
Yes. Yeah, they always did that kind of weird angle shot. Yeah.
So if you were looking at the Joker, they would always kind of
he always was slightly off.
The Dutch angles.
Right. But Batman and Robin are the straightest.
Well, it depends on who you ask, I guess.
Robin,
at least they're straight.
You're not called Dick Grayson because you're a straight man. Let's put it that way. Anyway.
At least he wasn't called Dick Gobbler.
Anyway, coming back to this.
Coming back to the episode.
Oh, that was amazing.
Okay. I'd like to talk. So he heads down. She's like, yeah, go try to stop.
Sure you don't want to talk about your dad saying Dick Gobbler?
No, we'll move on.
All right.
Yeah. So it's so let's talk about Compton. He comes back here, and Kirk meets up with him, and he goes, Hey, Captain, how's it going? He's like, Compton, what's going on? How he's like, yeah, where you been? And he's like, yeah, I met this lady, and now I'm going to do whatever she says, and I guess I have to stop you now, Captain. And he's so I wrote down, he's a traitor.
Mutiny.
Compton, yeah. So I guess what we're led to believe that Compton fell victim to the whatever deal is describing here is like, you will eventually come to accept this, and Kirk feigns this later on when he wants Deela to think he's turned, but also Compton does help Kirk, or he tries to, because there's a struggle where Kirk says yeah we'll work together, and then he punches or he pushes Compton or whatever to try to get in. Rael, who I think we need to talk about too, he gets involved, and he eventually I guess he cuts Compton, and that's what cell damage. And we learned that if anybody in this accelerated state, especially new people, if they get any kind of injury, will die, grow old and die. So where's Rael? Let's talk about Rael. Here is Rael. So we meet him more in this scene. We saw him on the monitor earlier. I would be remiss if I didn't speak about the costume of the male members of this species.
So the minute I saw this on screen, I'm like, Dave's gonna have a problem with this.
Well, I gotta say that this is not my favorite design. The collar.
Why, Dave?
Well, I don't know if showing off the collarbones of a man is necessarily an accentuating.
This is a progressive show, man.
Well, I just don't think it aesthetically works.
They had to come up with a costume.
I think that most male costuming on this show is awful.
Well, that's interesting. Like, I
find. Can you make this one bigger, like full screen, Dave? Because there's one thing I really hate about this is this little lacy little outline thing that they have going on here. It's like, what is this? Like, looks like a kind of silver doily.
Yeah, it feels like a costume more suited actually for a woman, honestly, more than a man. Just because, but it especially with this guy's face, like this rugged.
Yeah, like this guy. You're picturing him in like a cowboy outfit or something. Like it's, and like look at him. He just yeah. There's something weird about this.
And this guy, well, yeah, he's from a lot of westerns like Bonanza and stuff like that.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, and then there was this. Where's the other guy? This guy, he's the other one in there, but we don't see him quite as much. Yeah,
love the hair.
I guess they're like, we got this cool material. Let's make some space outfits.
The material is neat.
The material's good, but I can't. I don't. This is not my favorite design. However,
they've done better. Yeah.
It does stand out.
Can you say what episode have we watched recently where you liked the costuming on the guys?
That one where the babies were born. The baby was born.
Oh yeah, you mean Friday's Child?
Yeah, Friday's Child.
They were fine. I know Adam didn't like those either.
Adam didn't like those. No.
I like the costume from that guy who was doing Shakespeare.
The female costuming is great in the show, but I mean, but the male, man, it's like they don't have enough money, or they do something. I don't know what they do. They pull things off different shows or something. Who knows?
Well, I think Roddenberry was really trying to feature the women on the show. Like,
wow.
For sure. And I think that, like, so yeah, you get like Dila and her interesting looking outfit, very iconic. I think that these ones are also iconic, maybe not in a positive way, but they are definitely like, this is what they said. This is what future Skolosians people, alien people could wear, I guess, and it's as good as any. Like, I guess there would be a lot of differences among the clothing, but yeah, I get you. Maybe a miss.
Maybe
anyway,
we're too hung up on this.
So this is going to be a point of discussion on every episode of our podcast going forward. Just
gotcha. Okay, right. Well that's okay. We only had
18 episodes left.
Yeah. I wouldn't get too upset about that
yes.
because I wouldn't get too upset about it because they're just trying to make them different from other aliens that we want.
That's right.
I'm not upset.
Yeah. It's not a big deal.
Stop being so upset.
It's not a big deal.
Yes. Okay. So anyway, after this whole thing with this little scuffle with Rael and Compton and Rael tells Kirk, yeah, he's like, it's your fault he's dead. And Delia goes, that's not true. It's your fault he's dead. And he's like, yeah, but I don't like him anyway. So like, maybe he'll be a night. Maybe I'll like him more if we put him in line. Anyway, so Kirk runs off. He's making his recording on the microtape in the medical lab. And Deela comes in. She even helps him make the recording. She's like, yeah, like this is not going to matter because this life support system is going to put the crew into a deep freeze. And she goes, yep, but that's not it. So anyway, she explains here, radiation poisoning transformed her planet. It made them into this accelerated state, but it also made them unable to procreate. So they have to like trick other people or kind of kidnap other people to help them repopulate.
I don't know. I think the costumes are making them not be able to procreate.
Perhaps it's you saw Deela was not into Rael, and it could have been because of his outfit.
Maybe.
And I don't know if Adam and Jody, if you remember a Next Generation episode where there was kind of a similar angle where they like there's other species who
is timescape or something.
Yeah, I like that episode a lot.
Yeah, so it's kind of got a similar.
Well, it loses 2 points because it's got Wesley in it already, but
yeah.
But he was okay in this episode because he did
yeah,
it.
He was, yeah.
And this was about them. They were abducting children instead of trying to abduct I guess adults to procreate and whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the episode though. Timescape or something like that.
Timescape.
Was it Timescape? Yeah. Okay.
Timescape. Yeah, and so some similar things there, but
what do we got here?
There's an alien costume if you ever seen one.
Can't quite make that out.
Yeah, it's like I had a pink shirt on with a pink hat. You know.
Okay. Cool.
I don't know. It was a dress up at a party once. It was just sitting there. I said, "Gee, I think
that's what he claims anyway."
That looks like a Star Trek alien poster.
All right. Well, okay, but Adam, what do you think of these aliens' motives, the Skelosians, what they're trying to do here?
Look, this is where the story gets interesting. They are trying to propagate. They're trying to stay current. They're trying to keep the race going. Like, I don't fault them for this. Like, I do fault them for the way they do it, but I think that this story is very interesting now, because what are they to do? And they can't communicate in normal terms, so they have to bring people into them, right? So I thought this was interesting, and it did come back to Timeskate. That was my first thought, actually. And any time that we phase in and out of time continuums and whatever, this is where I think this was the brainchild of that episode, or of those storylines and other series that we've watched. So it's good.
Oh, I love the concept of this episode. I think it's great.
Dad, what did you think of the Skelosians and what they were trying to do? Did you get it?
Not really. I mean, they couldn't. They all died, right?
Well, that was kind of what they led us to believe. Yes, that they were not going to survive without being able to read more of them, and because they experience hours as minutes or whatever, that it wouldn't take long. But they also can't. That they were, and Kirk's like, we're going to put a warning buoy up. We're going to make sure no other ships can get near you. But he says that we'd be willing to help you go to another planet. So it seems like there was potentially, why can't they just leave the planet with the radiation?
Yeah.
Don't know.
Anyway, so Kirk's working on his little recording, and he's able to flirt with Deela enough to kind of get her to look away while he drops it right in the slot in front of Spock. Which I was like, okay, that's neat. But then it took a long. And by the way, did anybody notice that some people are better at standing still and pretending to be frozen than others?
Yes, Leonard Nimoy is not one of them.
Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelly cannot.
DeForest Kelly, I don't think has ever been stationary.
His eyes are always moving.
Yamura actually did a pretty decent job.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah. There was a couple actually Christy Majel Barrett, as she was actually like a statue. But then you see like DeForest Kelly like shaking, and his eyes are moving and whatever. So there's kind of some things here. Kirk runs off to sabotage the transporter, and there's this whole thing where Deela's like, well, he couldn't have had enough time to do it, but apparently he did.
Apparently,
I guess I don't know what he did. Anyway, so then Rail tries to inform Deela, but she's in Kirk's quarter and does not answer. So meanwhile, while they were in Kirk's quarters, they get it on.
Well, that was good.
And there's the boot scene, right?
The boot scene.
He's putting the boot back on.
The notorious her hair, and she's getting her hair done. So.
Yeah, they did it
completely.
This is the scene that Star Trek people all talk about. This boot scene, and that's one of the reasons why I remembered the name of this episode, because this is notorious for proving that he gets laid, right? Because literally he's doing up the boots and all that, right? So it's like, okay, well, yeah, obviously
it's the closest one we ever to see him taking his clothes off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but you know what though?
It's not like
they had a pretty good chemistry, these two. Like that was believable. I think better than a lot of the female cast that came in and out.
Yeah, if you told me that these two dated in real life, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
I agree. Like Shatner, for whatever reason, had more of a connection with this character than maybe some of the other love interests he's had. Even in this, the one where
even Joan Collins.
Yeah, even Joan Collins. Joan Collins had pretty good.
Last week's with that, I can't remember the name of the woman, but anyway, they're on the planet and whenever, it wasn't there like this one. This one was believable. He did a good job in this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that, he's putting the boot on. It's the closest thing, but we would never see them wake up in bed or under sheets or anything. It's 1968, Dave.
Yeah, not allowed.
Not allowed.
No,
censored. He can put his boot on. That's it.
We all knew it worked just fine.
Oh yeah, I got the point across.
Because this was on in prime time, right?
No, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it was. What did you think of Rael's little attack onto Kirk?
If I had to sum it up in one word, pathetic.
Because all he has to do is scratch him in order to kill him.
Yeah.
Right. So he's throwing things, and Kirk's protecting himself with like a book or a chair or whatever.
Yeah, I can't say that this is one of the stand-up moments of this episode.
Yeah, but Deela is the one who saves them because Deela shoots them with their little phaser thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so and then she's like, "Stop it, Rael! That's my boy toy. He's pretty, and I like him." And
I'm gonna keep him.
I'm keeping him. It's shortly after this that Kirk starts pretending to be accepting. Yes, that was wrong of me to sabotage the transporter before. Why did I do that? Doesn't matter. So she falls for it. Meanwhile, Spock is figuring things out, as Spock does. He's figuring out that what the buzzing's about. He kind of unravels that first up on the bridge, and then he later McCoy's like, I found this tape, and it's got his buzzing on it. Spock's like, get that up here. I just figured out the buzzing thing and what the buzzing's about.
Which was a neat concept.
Yeah, like they were like, oh, so you speed. I guess it was like just even if you speed up audio or slow down audio, it can.
I got that vibe from that one Next Gen episode where they're stuck in the time loop and they keep hearing the echoes of themselves.
Yeah.
I kept getting that vibe from it. I'm like, I wonder if they kind of thought of that when they were doing that episode. If it
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, right. It's one of my favorite episodes of Next Gen.
Yeah, like I think that this was good. There was a little bit of problem solving involved here. They kind of figure it out. They make the water samples. Like you said, it's like it's a solid story, I guess, in most respects, but it's not necessarily like, wow, that like blew my socks off either.
I think for science fiction in the 60s, I think it was a great concept. It is
a great concept, especially for what it created later. Like this is like a catalyst for all the other. We just mentioned 3 episodes.
I think this is one of the most unique Star Trek episodes.
Yeah,
like, it's the original
a great
series.
story. It's a great story.
Yeah,
right.
It's not the cookie cutter. They go down to a planet. He falls in love with somebody. There's a conflict. Eventually, at the end, he has to leave. Like it's not one of them cookie cutter ones. It's
I like the episodes where they stay on the ship. You know.
Yeah, some of them were fun. Yeah.
Yeah, this one was good. And so, but later on, Kirk turns the tides on Deela when she's least suspecting it. When they're about to beam down, and he takes her weapon, and they pair up and they find Rael with the life support machine that's going to put the crew into suspended animation, because I guess their plan was they were just going to like get a new person every so often. Okay. And then so anyway,
take them out of the freezer.
Yeah, take them out of the fridge for a romp,
Yeah.
Because what's her name? I guess we never learned her name. The other Scalosian woman, she lost her Compton. They're like, don't worry, we'll get you a new red shirt. There's lots of them.
Yeah, there's plenty of them. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, plenty to go around. And then they take out Rael. They just I don't think Spock really did anything, because we kind of established that the phasers are useless.
Spock is the brains of this operation in this episode. Like he comes up and figures out certain things, and that's it.
Yes, and then at the end he's like fixing everything very quickly.
Yeah, which I also thought was a really neat concept as well, because he's accelerated, so you can fix everything really quick, right?
Right.
For them, anyway.
Yeah. So, but really, Kirk didn't need Spock to win this fight.
I would have liked to see, like, at the end, Spock be like, it took me like 48 hours to do this, Kirk. You saw it in 2 seconds, but I'm tired.
Yeah, you got the impression it was quite a bit of work he did. Yeah, I guess Spock also had to come to this like accelerated
the scene there, Jody.
What's that?
Isn't that the scene now coming up? The boot scene?
It's coming. Yeah.
It already happened.
No, the boot scene. Actually, this could be it. I can't remember. Anyway.
Show me the boot.
It's coming.
Whose boots have you been? Or no, whose bed have your boots been under, Dad?
Yeah, because he's staring at her first, and then later on, it's the boots. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sidetracking here.
Yeah. So I guess, but Spock had to come to this world to give him like the antidote, basically.
Yeah.
Like that was Spock's practical purpose. It wasn't necessarily this like getting the drop on rail, but they do. And then Deal's like, you got us. And then he's like, well, maybe I'll put you in suspended animation. But she's like, why don't you just let us go? Put up your warning buoy and we'll call this a draw. And he's very forgiving for this kidnapping and attempted like a theft of the ship and all these other things. But he just kind of like, well, there's only 5 of them left. And he's like, I'll just let them go. Even though Rael definitely tried to kill me earlier. So I guess that was the right thing to do. You know, it's...
Well, what else are you going to do? Like, you can't...
Well, he could have arrested them. He could have brought them... if it was possible for them to leave, like, the accelerated world, like Spock and Kirk, it shouldn't have been possible for them too?
Well, I guess, maybe, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is part of the problem with this episode. It's a great concept. It's just the execution is just not there.
Well, you know, it wraps up very quickly, and he's like, "Okay, see you later." But what I do find normally Kirk doesn't think about the love interest at the very end. He usually flies off on the ship, and he's like, "See you later," on to the next one. But he seemed to be kind of remorseful. He was like he was kind of into Deela.
Yeah, you got that. I think I got a little of that, yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying. Is I do believe they had a good chemistry on this show because you did feel that. So it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, all good. Well, before we get into some ratings, maybe we can just talk some fun facts we might have missed.
Oh, okay. I don't have my glasses, but let's see what we can do. Right.
Where's Jeff? Is he coming too?
He's
I don't know,
probably
he left.
still watching, I think.
Oh, he left, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Walter, I can never say his last name.
Koenig.
Koenig, is it? It's Koenig. Okay.
Koenig.
Walter Koenig did not film any new footage for this episode. Chekhov appears briefly in the opening scenes, but it's stock footage from an earlier production. He has no part in the plot at all.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't need him.
So the hyper-accelerated movement plot was also used in an episode of The Wild Wild West, The Night of the Burning Diamond from 1966, produced by Gene L. Kuhn and Lee Corin.
And Gene L. Kuhn is also a producer on this show.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, we did that story already in the Wild Wild West.
So the concept of this story is actually loosely based on an H.G. Wells short story called The New Accelerator. A cartoon episode of The Lone Ranger from 1966 also used this plot. So there you go. There's a whole lot of links going on here.